Joining me now, former FBI Special Agent Daniel Brunner and former FBI Assistant Director for the Criminal Investigative Division, Chris Swecker. Now, he was the FBI Special Agent in charge of the search for the convicted serial bomber, Eric Rudolph. You know, this is more than 24 hours later. I'll begin with you, Chris. As you're looking at how the last 24 hours have unfolded, tell me, what is your assessment of what has taken place, the suspect's actions, and really, how could he have been able to evade authorities altogether so far?
Well, yeah, Laura, I think this person is mentally disturbed. I mean, that's obvious just by the nature of the act itself, but also we know there's a documented record of some sort of mental disorder. But he planned well. I mean, he executed his plan, but he attacked two different places. He inflicted mass casualties. He's trained. He's a firearms instructor. He's a specialist in the Army, 21 years. He's an outdoorsman. So, and he obviously fishes and hunts in that area. That's a fishing and hunting area. Probably knows the area better than any local authorities, except maybe the wildlife officers. So although he's mentally disturbed, he planned this to the T, and I think his escape is part of that plan. You know, he either got to that boat ramp and did a switch car situation like bank robbers do, and he's in a clean car and he's hundreds of miles away, or he went with what's familiar, which is his boat, that river, the wilderness area in and around that area. He probably pre-stocked and pre-selected some locations like Eric Rudolph did, and he could hang out in those woods for a long time without getting caught, just like Eric Rudolph. Eric Rudolph was on the run for 5 years, and he never went more than 8 miles from where he was last seen. So this,
that's unbelievable.
This could be a very long, drawn-out search.
And think about the communities. They're on lockdown still, Daniel. The suspect, could have fled on foot, could have gone by boat, could have gone by car. There are a world, frankly, of possibilities. And we know at least that this person is the person of interest to have killed all of these people, that has the training, the firearm trainings, the military training as well. So walk me through what investigators, with all those possibilities, what are they doing right now to track them? They must have technology to figure out whether he is inside certain buildings. Is it the dogs? What do you do to tackle this?
Well, I think there's a lot of different leads that are being developed right now. The tactical operations specialist at the command center being led by the state police, and all the other entities are all there together, gathering every piece of evidence and every piece of lead. They're talking to Army CID, Criminal Investigative Division, looking at his Army life, his personal life, his online presence. Everything that he has touched within the last 5 to 10 years, they're looking into it, thus creating the lead. So look and to not only determine what his motive was, but what his next steps were. As Chris was saying, he left his vehicle at where there was a boat launch. He could have got into a second vehicle. I think the theory of him going out into the open ocean on his small boat, it's going to be a little difficult because he would need fuel. So I think the theory of either him taking the boat downriver and then getting off where Chris was saying, where he's got supplies set up and he can go into the woods. I also think about Eric Rudolph manhunt. He was captured by a patrol officer 5 years after he was put on the 10 most wanted. So this man knows these woods. He's trained. He is expert at these at urban in the woods. He can, and he's got his weapons. So he's a danger, but all the investigators are putting all the leads together to try and determine and get inside his mind before the events in which they occurred.
And also it could have been that we're talking about a car at a boat ramp that may be part of a strategic decoy operation. You just have no idea whether that was something that he had anticipated in some respect as well. You both mentioned these similarities between him and Eric Rudolph and the amount of time it took to track him down. Getting into the mind of the why for the victims and the families who are grieving the loss of their loved ones and a sense of security in this community, the motive might not be paramount, but that's also what investigators are looking at. They developed a working theory, according to source who told my colleague John Miller that there is a theory that of why the suspect targeted the bowling alley, why he targeted the bar and grill. He'd recently broken up with a longtime girlfriend, and they frequented these locations. What do you make, Chris, of that theory that's right now being discussed?
Yeah, well, John's a very credible person. I worked with him with the FBI. He knows the difference between rumor and fact. So I think it's a very plausible working theory. I have said all day long that this is a personal thing. When the issue of terrorism came up, I said it just doesn't have the indicators there. So there's a trigger or a set of triggers, and he's been digressing for a while. Incidents at work, lost his job, supposedly broke up or had a breakup with his girlfriend, been hearing voices, just got hearing aids, and those voices were in his ear in those two places apparently. And these are places that he frequented. So this could be part of just a slide, a gradual slide, and then a trigger. And I think that happens very often with mass killers like this. So, the role of mental illness just looms large over this whole thing.
Daniel, there's law enforcement trying to find this person. They're calling him armed and dangerous. You heard what Chris had to say about the indicia not reflecting maybe a terrorist angle. But there are law enforcement entities out right now who are likely afraid of running into a trap, being ambushed. Their safety and that of the community is certainly in peril. What are the considerations for law enforcement tonight in terms of the cover of darkness and where we are?
Well, that's obviously a danger, just like in the Pennsylvania manhunt, where they were walking through an area and looking for him in a slow, methodical method. But what the community needs to understand is that law enforcement is putting themselves out there for that reason. That's why we took the badge. That's why we took the job, is to make sure we, even if we run into a danger, that we were getting ourselves out there to prevent it from someone in the community, an additional person getting hurt. That lies the sacrifice that some of these law enforcement. The most important thing is capturing and mitigating this threat, getting out there and moving through the area. Now, once they determine a location, whether it's a woods or like in Pennsylvania where there's an area, that's when other assets will start focusing on that area, whether it be canine, whether it be aircraft, infrared, looking down. You have also drones. So lots of different assets are being brought in. FBI Boston, FBI Albany, I'm sure New Haven, all the other federal assets, ATF, HSI, they're all coming in, and I'm sure countless law enforcement agencies in the area are flooding the area saying, how can we help? And there lies where the incident command center will then start pushing them into areas once they determine leads. At this point, the investigators are out there interviewing people, looking at data, looking at possible leads, looking at easy pass tolls, looking at suspicious activity, anything that could possibly provide a lead as to where he has gone. Those investigators who will then develop the leads, send it back to Incident Command Center, and then they'll start focusing the search teams in that area.
An extremely wide net and extremely broad expertise, both of you. Daniel Brunner, Chris Wecker, thank you so much. We are learning more tonight about the victims of this latest mass shooting. Coming up, I'll talk to the family of Tricia Aslan, who was bowling last night, and she lost her life just trying to save others. And our other